Hello, everybody. It's time for the Micro Brew Podcast. Milwaukee Brewers chatter from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. My name is JR Radcliffe. I am here with Curt Hogg of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. He was at American Family Field on Sunday as the Milwaukee Brewers, they did not win against the New York Yankees. Back-to-back lopsided losses to the Bronx Bombers after a walk-off win on Friday night. They finished the week 3-4. Not a great week. In fact, even though 3-4 isn't that terrible, I would argue it's probably a disaster week. Not just because of the results, but because of some of the yet another lost starting pitcher that happened earlier in the week. I think there's some just real bad signs for a lot of things, which I'll talk about. I don't want to get too negative right off the bat, though. Curt, how are you today? It's been a minute. You had a birthday over the weekend.
I turned a year older than I was.
Yes, you're not gonna reveal how old you are right now.
How old do you know how old I am?
Well, so I think I do, but the thing, the NFL draft was this weekend. You know how hard it is to just get your hand on birth dates for a lot of these guys? I don't know if it's because so many of them are older now that they don't have that information just readily available, but college websites don't often have that. They don't often have a player's birthday. Maybe it's because there's like 99 of them on a football team, so it's hard to track them all down, but it takes some legwork to actually like figure out. You almost have to ask these guys, are you like 23 or 24? What's the story there? So
that is a common question in baseball. Are you 20 or are you 25?
Yes, different reasons entirely, but yes, that does come up sometimes.
You didn't answer my question though.
How old do I think you are? I think you just
probably know.
I think you turned 28.
29.
Oh!
One more for 30, baby. We're not there yet, but
30 is next year. You're very young and tall and
handsome.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna say that, but feel free. I don't know. I'm just thinking about my own mortality. And that one of my colleagues that I do a podcast with every week is just still so young. But anyway, NFL draft, those guys are old. Those guys are only like 5 years younger than you because there's a lot of like 24-year-old dudes.
I mean, I'm not at the point anymore where I can like look at the NFL draft and go like, yes, you are me. I am you. No. These are young fellows, except for Tory Taylor, who I didn't realize was like 27. This dude was like almost he was in high school with me basically. And he's just getting drafted. That was weird.
The Chicago Bears, not only did they get the first overall pick in Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze in the top 10, which was an exceptional pick, they still found a way, despite taking one of my favorite players in college football, a 27-year-old Australian punter from Iowa, who is legitimately one of the best weapons Iowa had. They still found a way to screw up the draft, even by taking that person, by drafting a punter in the 4th round. They didn't have, I don't even remember if they got another pick. I think they did, but they had like 3 picks going into the draft, 4 picks going into the draft, and they still screwed it up, Curt. Magical work by the Chicago Bears. But hey, I wish Tory Taylor played for not the Bears.
While we're talking about other sports, the people that are watching this on YouTube will be perhaps perplexed at your wardrobe choice today, going with a Bucs shirt.
I don't
knew what was going to get. You knew what they were getting into with that game tonight. You knew.
I don't like to wear sports garb on the podcast. I don't think that's right for someone as neutral as you and I clearly are. As you wear your Motion W Wisconsin gear. We are clearly neutral and not at all fans of the teams that we have been around and cover. But this is a 2021 championship Bucs shirt. I just wanted to put those vibes into the universe because did I know that the Bucs, who are almost as injured as the Milwaukee Brewers, possibly more so, did I know that they were going to lose Game 5 to the Indiana Pacers tonight? I sure did. I thought, you know what? Let's think of the good times. There's still a chance. When you got Giannis, if you have Giannis,
they don't have Giannis. They don't have Dame. Do they even have Chris Middleton?
There's a chance in the way that, sometimes incredibly random things happen in the sports universe. So let's just think of the good times. 2024 went bad, but let's think about 2021. That's where I'm at. That's what I'm putting into the ether right now.
That's fair. I'm going to offer my one Bucs comment before we get into the Brewers. I think it's easy to lose sight of the fact that the Bucs winning one championship, uno campeonato, was like a far-fetched reality not that long ago. So
Yeah.
not saying to don't be disappointed or bummed out by this stinker of a year.
Yeah, I again don't want to spend too much time not talking about baseball, but the NBA right now is an interesting place where the same teams don't actually win over and over and over. I mean, you did have the Warriors, but now we're kind of in the midst
You
here.
just spoke the Nuggets into existence again.
Well, right, the
Congrats.
Nuggets could easily disprove this year, but like every team has dudes. I think winning one championship is pretty exceptional. It requires a lot to go right, and I don't think you can guarantee right now dynasty for any team, no matter how great the talent is. I mean, the Phoenix Suns, as we record this, are possibly getting swept tonight with also 3 great dudes on their team, and their year was kind of a disaster too. So like it happens. I do think the Bucks have one more chance next year. I do think it's available to them. We'll see. I don't know. Curt.
And with the conclusion of the Point Forward Bucks podcast, brought to you by Journal Sentinel,
yeah,
let's talk about baseball. Although there's a baseball analogy there. I mean, Brewers fans don't have to be informed of how many things have to go right for you in the playoffs. I don't think the Brewers have had a single thing go right for them in the playoffs since like Game 3 of the NLCS in 18. Literally everything that could go wrong has.
I can't wait to tell you.
Bounce has gone their way.
That's true. I can't wait to tell you why I am pretty convinced that this team is going to finish below 500. But before we get there, before we go all in,
oh boy,
the Brewers finished their really bad series with the Yankees, back-to-back losses in lopsided fashion. I actually might argue, given the pitching situation, lopsided losses and innings being soaked up by position players is actually what this team
much
needed.
Rather lose by 10
yes,
than use all the bullets and lose by 1. Absolutely. I think that's always true in baseball, honestly.
It is true. It is true. Owen Miller with 2 innings on Saturday night. Jake Bauers on the hill. Again, we'll talk more about that. But Sunday, there was this play. And I just want to start with that because it's top of mind for everybody where Aaron Judge slid into second base, stuck up his hand, and knocked down a ball that would have been a double play. It would have been it should have been an easy first 2 outs of the, I don't remember the inning, the 6th that was tied at the time. The umpires did not rule interference. The Yankees went on to score 7 runs in that inning, many of which scored after 2 outs that would not have scored. Did they all score after 2 outs?
They all scored after 2 outs.
All scored after
every
2 outs.
Last one of them.
I mean, you cannot say that with any certainty those runs don't come around to score later. I mean, it was pretty much a meltdown on multiple fronts, but the umpires admitting after the game that they screwed that up, that they should have called interference on that play. It is not a reviewable play. They discussed it. I mean, it really ultimately kind of just sounds like one of those things where they tried to figure it out the way they could, and they came to the wrong conclusion, and that happens, but it does end up costing the Brewers. I truly don't think when you lose by, what was it, 15-3? I don't even remember the final score. Was that Saturday? That was Saturday's score.
15-5. It was 15-3 and then 15-5.
When you lose by 10, you cannot convince me that one bad interference call is truly the difference in the game. But that was a big one. So what? Give me the whole lay of the land as this unfolded.
Could I convince you that one interference call was the difference in the game? Now
I can't. I can't take that. I'm sorry.
I can't say the Brewers win, but I don't know. However, and like you said, it's a slippery slope to try to like relitigate innings and say, oh, it would have happened in the same order. But in this case, we're just talking about one batter. Like before Abner Uribe had blown it. You get that double play, it's Stanton. Stanton popped up. I don't think the elements of the universe changed drastically for that Stanton at bat. And then Uribe's done. Now, Peguero was kind of stinky when he came in the game too, and he probably pitches the 7th. The Brewers, I think they scored in the 5th, so maybe they have a 1-run lead, but at that point, it's tricky, but it's certainly a toss-up between the back of the Brewers bullpen and the back of the Yankees bullpen. I mean, the bullpen's been really good for the Brewers. And who's to say it absolutely would have been Peguero? Probably would have been. But maybe it's Brian Hudson. He's been better. So we can get more into the call itself, but I do think it legitimately, it's crazy to say in a 10-run game. It actually sounds stupid to say in a 10-run game, but I think it did have a direct impact on the outcome. I probably still would pick the Yankees to have won that game anyway because their bats were just ridiculous this weekend, but you never know, and the Brewers really never got a chance to know, although, the flip side of it is they still lost it for themselves after that call.
Yeah. Abner Uribe and Elvis Peguero are two of the guys you'd expect in a tight situation there in the middle of the game or late in the game. If they had started putting in guys that wouldn't normally pitch because it got out of hand, then I'd feel differently. I just don't. I mean, Abner Uribe's got to throw strikes. I mean, he got squeezed on a couple calls too, which also figures in.
They put Jansen Junk in, and so like the last 4 runs, you can't
really
count that. He's not going to be pitching. Yeah, let's get into the call though. Let's talk about the call itself. I thought it was a really bad call.
Why? So did they. Everyone thought that.
Everyone did. My mouth. Can you come pick me up right now and actually take me back to American Family Field? My jaw is not fully here. Parts of it were left on the floor of the umpire's room and deep inside AmFam Field for when it dropped. When I think it was Andy Fletcher, the crew chief, started his answer by basically saying, "We biffed it," because that was not what I expected to hear from him.
Yeah, so a couple things to set the scene for that. First of all, obstruction/interference calls in baseball, not the most easy things to digest. There's a lot that goes into it. I think some people think interference and obstruction are what they're not. It's not often easy. And in this case, we're talking about a straight up judgment call. It would be very easy for the
judgment call. Judgment
call. Judge.
I'm so sorry. So many people just turned the podcast off. Please give us 5 stars before you do.
There's like and subscribe on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Make sure to find us on all your podcast platforms next week when you trust us again, if you ever trust us again. There are so many puns involving Judge that we could use. I mean, it's so easy for the crew chief to just look at that and say, it was a judgment call. Sorry, but we didn't think it was the right call. How many times have we seen like obvious, overt screw ups and the umpires are like, no, we got that right. We got that absolutely right. Nothing to see here. So respect, man. I mean, I honestly thought they could hide behind the judgment call thing. They did not do that. They said he threw up his hand, guys. We screwed it up. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. A little bit of an applause there for just being, forthcoming and upstanding as umpires. That's what we want from umpires. We want them to be perfect, but we know that's not going to happen. And the next best thing is some transparency. It doesn't change anything, but I think it's for the good of the game. It's much better for the umpire to come forward and say, yeah, we botched that one. Whereas the Yankees reporters were saying, they just came from a few days ago. They had in the interesting instance in which Aaron Boone was ejected for something a fan said in the first row. Right. And
the umpire doubled down on that, I believe.
I think it was Hunter Wendelstead doubled down on it when all the evidence suggested the contrary. So yeah, no, definitely like a thumbs up for
hand up.
Hand up, just like Aaron Judge for admitting your mistake. I'd like to think in this life, JR, when we all make mistakes, we can admit them.
Did we spend a good chunk of the late innings communicating, workshopping possible plays on words? Who's to say? No one will know for sure because we deleted our chat history. By the way, I love what you landed on. That was Chef's kiss.
I don't even think we put that one in the chat.
We didn't.
We spent all that time workshopping. Yeah, we spent all that time workshopping.
It was not great. It was not good. But you, man, you found the perfect note.
I was trying to set you up there though for a seg.
By me repeating
about mistakes.
Oh yes, mistakes. I lost my train of thought. Are we done with this? Because we got to talk about some injuries.
Yeah, I don't know what else there is to say.
Yeah, the Brewers, they did get a walk-off win this week. They did gut out a couple wins in Pittsburgh, one of which I can once again say with some certainty. I have no idea how they won that game, but they did. And so it's not a complete lost cause. But this week started on a very bad note, and that was with news that Wade Miley had some elbow inflammation. To me, there's 2 injuries that really, I think, kind of colored this week. One that we didn't talk a ton about during the week, and that's Christian Yelich, who's still like maybe another whole week away at minimum from getting back from this back issue, which I think, at some point we just got to be straight up alarmed. Like there doesn't seem to be a lot of answers here. This is already a fan base dealing with injuries to Giannis and Damian Lillard and Chris Middleton. And, this is just one more.
You deserve better. Sweet people.
So I think that's a real issue. And we're seeing it with the offense. The offense has, as we might imagine, started to buckle a little bit, did not have a particularly productive week. And then you have the injury to Wade Miley, which comes one day, not even a full day after learning that DL Hall is going on the injured list. DL Hall had not been effective as we talked about, but he's gone. Wade Miley's gone. Joe Ross has not been effective his last 2 starts. So does not. Just like you really wonder, can he be a starting pitcher all season long? Bryce Wilson coming out of the bullpen to kind of get stretched out. That's been okay. You can't say the results are terrible, but like this rotation is duct tape and baling wire, and losing Miley, it sounds like for a long, long time, for 10 to 12 months is going to be the rehab process now. If he comes back at all, no idea if he'll be a Brewer at that point. So like he's gone for the season. Where are they going to get a rotation? I mean, Wade Miley wasn't a guy who was going deep into games, but he was, brought in to be the reliable guy he was last year. And it just feels like it's not going to come together with this pitching staff. Like, I know it's only April. There's a lot of time to find solutions. I just can't think of where they're coming from. I don't know how what they have now is going to get them through a full season. I don't know if you feel differently.
It's got to come from the gas station. JR.
Robert Gassner, come on down, please.
That's about the answer.
That's one pitcher. They need several.
It's got to come from Tobias Myers being good.
Yeah, we'll talk about him.
They don't really like that. Has to be one of their top, things to go right. Like, it doesn't have to go right for this team to be good. They still have a few other options, but like these other guys aren't coming back for a while. The DL Hall injury was a tear in the MCL.
Yeah,
which was kind of, I think, like hidden a little bit at first, not hidden necessarily like directly, but just under the surface. And then it came out in Pittsburgh that, oh yeah, he tore his knee. And that's why the velocity was way down the whole time. So
which makes sense,
like,
obviously.
That might be a 60-day. He ain't coming back soon. Wade Miley's out for the year. Brandon Woodruff ain't pitching this year. Like Aaron Ashby, I would not expect to see him for a very, very long time until the results, stop being terrible.
Yeah, he has not found it in the minors.
Nashville, it's not looking good at all. Jansen Junk is, I don't, there's not a whole lot of reason to like be more optimistic about that than like Tobias Myers. Evan McKendry's hurt. I don't think that's you run down the list and it's like, oh boy, it's Robert Gasser.
Which, I mean, Robert Gasser, we love him.
Very well could work. But yeah, and Jacob Junis, I guess, he's going to start a throwing program, or he resumed his throwing program and, could maybe get back into swing of things in a couple weeks, but he's going to need some rehab starts. So he'll be back too. But even then, like the Brewers are toying around with him as a bullpen guy. He's not going to give you length. So I don't know the answer as to where it comes from. It comes from Freddie Peralta being a stud, the bullpen being really good and sustainable too. I think that's the real trick here is we've talked about it, how sustainable is all these guys throwing as much as they have. I think the usage tapered back a little this week, which was good probably for the long term. But how long can you, basically have the league's best, I don't know the stats on it, but probably the best bullpen in baseball, at least over the last 3 weeks. How long is that sustainable? I don't know. Yeah, probably not the best bullpen in baseball after Sunday.
Probably not.
A 7-run inning probably does some numbers to that, but they've been really good. That doesn't change the point that they have been awesome in tight games.
For sure. No shade whatsoever. It's as we've talked about, it's not about the short term. It's about, can they do this over the course of a season? And there's a chance they can. There's a chance the Bucks come back down from down 3-1, hobbled, shorthanded, and beat the Indiana Pacers. There's a chance that happens. Robert Gasser, that we love him. He has never pitched in the big leagues. You can't count on him being a big leaguer right away. So, even though I think we both think he will be, who knows? We've seen a lot of good out of Tobias Myers. That's extremely, extremely encouraging. He made his major league debut this week, had a couple starts. We'll talk about him in a second. I just don't. I mean, is there any way out of this without a trade? Like, don't you think, Curt?
Oh boy.
I mean, I don't want to start talking trades in April.
I'm going to give you a scenario. Well, the Marlins might want to start talking trades in April.
Well, remember the name Jesus Luzardo, and now he's down. He's hurt.
Yeah, everyone gets hurt. So I've got two things to bring up. Number one is let's give our response to this topic in unison. Trevor Bauer.
Oh my God.
It's going to get brought up. All right, ready? In 3, 2, 1. No. Okay.
We're together, Curt. Thank goodness.
Unscripted too. Look at that. Okay, so we can move on to number 2 now, which this I mostly am saying this for your reaction, but I'm like 9% serious on it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen what Adrian Hauser's doing in New York?
It's disastrous.
He's got a one-way ticket on the purple line to DFA land.
Uh-huh.
And you know what's going to happen when he gets DFA'd? No one's going to claim him at that salary. He's going to be
going to try to reclaim his career in indie ball.
And guess who needs some starters and has some familiarity with him and likes guys that they're familiar with? What say you?
We made it through this once with Adrian Hauser. That's okay. So that's not a trade. That's a desperation move.
There's not a lot of viable big league starters that become available at this point of the season. I mean, this is how Julio Teheran ended up making 20 starts for the Brewers last year.
And I mean, like,
they're going to write novels about that, by the way. They won how many games?
I don't know. And I mean, Adrian Hauser would maybe work because, well, obviously you would in this scenario reunite him with the pitching staff that he has had some success. And furthermore, like, you don't need this to work all season long. It can be just for a few weeks until you figure out what's next, I guess.
Yeah. But as a counterpoint, the stuff is worse. The velo's down. It ain't sinking like it used to. And he's walked more than he struck out. While the home run for fly ball number, like, the ball is staying in the park more than it should. And with that, I would like to conclude our Adrian Hauser discussion. Unless you have more thoughts, because this was just a stupid thing that came to my mind.
The word unplayable comes to mind. Yes. But, I don't want to talk about trades in April. I feel like that's what people do when they don't really understand the ebbs and flows of a 162 game season. In May of 2021, they made that trade for Willy Adames when it was kind of clear Luis Urias wasn't going to be a shortstop, and it changed the trajectory of that team. That team was floundering, and Willy Adames changed it for them. I don't think a starting pitcher can have that level of impact. I think they need more than one starting pitcher, which is why they probably won't do it. And they do have an absurd amount of depth in the minor leagues with pitchers. It's just that none of those guys are going to be here really for a long, probably in 2024 at all.
Did you see Jacob Mizrowski's week?
I did see some improvement, yes. But when they bring him up, Curt, and you know this, he won't be a starter. He's going to be in the bullpen, which is fine. He will be here in 2024. But he's not going to be starting.
He might be here as a starter in 2024. We're like 2 injuries away from him being the next guy through the door.
Honestly, you're absolutely right. I mean, Colin Ray is seriously the number 2 pitcher on this team.
I'm sitting here. I'm searching for his walks from this week. And you know what? I don't see him. He didn't walk, guys. Who is this man? Get him to Milwaukee.
Maybe a switch flipped. He is still, he's not even in like Nashville. So like, we got to cool it a little bit with him. There are guys who can do this. I think Tobias Myers is such a good case study because he's not one of those top, 5 pitchers in the minor league system. He's a guy that has just had plain old success, is a unique story in that he's bounced around to a lot of organizations, but has still some of that prospect shine on him. It's not that he has failed over and over. It's that he's been traded a couple times and he's kind of like been in a roster crunch situation. Like, you could see him having a good big league career. And then he comes up to the big leagues. He throws one pitch that is sent out of the yard by Andrew McCutchen. Incredible start. He then finishes 5 innings, allowing just the 1 run. He looked really solid for most of his outing. Again, on Sunday, he attacks hitters. He is fearless. I think he's going to work out here. I certainly don't think they can actually afford to send him back down at this point. I mean, I think he's a legitimate dude. I mean, if this is a rotation that has to survive this way, I don't see any way he doesn't stay up here for the majority of the year. He feels like somebody who can absolutely pull this off. And I think he's going to be one of the better stories of the year when it's all said and done. Am I too excited about Tobias Myers? Tell me what you think.
I want to say I don't think you're too excited about Tobias Myers because it's been a really revealing and interesting 2 starts. But I think you are too excited about Tobias Myers because he might get sent down this week.
Well,
no, I probably think he makes another start. But Pat Murphy had a somewhat enlightening comment in one of his pregame media sessions. I think it was actually today on Sunday about, what's the, the outlook on Bryce Wilson as a starter, and what's the thinking on Gasser? You want to get him another one? And essentially he said it boiled down to like, what do we have in Tobias Myers? That's still a big unknown. I mean, like, he's certainly made a ton of sense as the guy to call up right now because, all the other guys are either hurt or not good. But he was on the first train out of big league camp. He was part of the first level of cuts.
Yeah.
And usually those guys, like, they do not factor into the big league team that year. So I don't think there's like a heavy level of commitment to him in the rotation, especially after I think the process was better than the results game on Sunday. And it's meaning the results honestly weren't great. 4 runs in 5 innings is not a good start.
That's true.
I think he deserves to stay with the way the picture is. And I think the Brewers want to give Robert Gasser another one down there in AAA too, to like build up, get healthy. He's already healthy, but you know what I mean? But after that, long term, I'm not so sure like how much Tobias Myers is in the plans. Like it feels like the default is he has to pitch himself into remaining in the plans, even with all the wear and tear in the rotation. But then again, there's the Bryce Wilson question of they're going to give him another start, and he's relatively stretched out, and they don't want to use him out of the bullpen. Like Bryce Wilson will not be pitching out of the bullpen before his, well, I guess his next start is what, coming up tomorrow or Monday. But between that and then the next start after that, which would be like Sunday, they don't want to pitch him out of the bullpen. He's just going to be on the starter workload. That's going to be that's his role right now. So I don't know how long-term that is, but it's certainly short-term, and that just makes it a little murkier for Tobias Myers' situation. Although he's shown that like he can compete at this level for sure.
Yeah. Kind of breaking my heart there a little bit. I'm excited.
I'm excited because I got you into Tobias Myers.
You did. That is true. I was not.
And I got you into Taylor Swift. Maybe.
No. I don't know if we've really necessarily gotten to that point. I'm not sure.
No.
I mean, we
chatted briefly about Taylor Swift like 15 days ago.
I will say this. I thought
you were joining me.
There's a Sirius XM radio channel that is now just Taylor Swift songs. It used to be the Pitbull station, which is not for me. Baby, I'm on fire. Still not for me, but Taylor Swift's channel, I think it's a temporary thing. So I'm just like listening to Taylor Swift songs, some old ones, some new ones. I'm not into the new stuff really, but I have discovered some older songs that I think are pretty good. My daughter is absolutely staunchly anti-Taylor Swift, all things, so I can't listen to it while she's in the car. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. It certainly happened. Nothing to do with me. I think these songs are fine. I enjoy them. I think there's some saturation issue going on in 4th grade. And she's just like, this is her stance. Today, Is It Over Now came on, like first 5 notes. And she's like, this song is terrible. I'm like, you can't even hear it yet. It's a really quiet intro. You can't even hear this song yet, which by the way, is a fantastic song. But so I'm half in on Taylor Swift. It's fine. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the music.
Is Lydia there? She was in the background of our last podcast.
Yeah, she's not here tonight. She's in bed.
Tell her next time when she wakes up in the morning, tell her she doesn't know ball from me.
I will tell her that. She
knows Girl Scout cookies, and she knows Elsa, or at least she knew Elsa.
Yes, she's gonna ask 40 questions about what that means, and gonna be exhausting. But I don't. What were we talking about? Something we were talking about Tobias Myers. You got me into him. I got sold.
I got you into him. Yeah, the cutter's intriguing. CC very intrigued.
Yeah, I agree.
Talked all about the fastball, and sure, the fastball is like that's the sexy metric pitch. But when he pumps it in the zone like too much, guys, third time around especially will start to see it. Second, third time around, but the cutter, he really did a good job of keeping guys off balance with that. Probably should have thrown a cutter instead of the fastball to Volpe the third time through.
Probably. I'm a big fan of this trend where you do have pitchers that just straight go after people. These games are moving faster. Wade Miley working faster. I will miss Wade Miley's efficiency on the mound, but I appreciate a guy who's just gonna keep throwing in the zone. Here it is, hit it. I do kind of appreciate that on some level. Both of us have something that we need to kind of apologize for in when it comes to player evaluation. I'm going to start. This is
potentially apologize. Asterisk.
Yeah,
reserve the right to change my opinion.
Well, and me as well, but I was pretty down on Gary Sanchez last week. I'm like, why is he here? They have other catchers in the minors who can do this. And he did have a tremendous week. So there's going to be some recency baked into this, but I just think I think maybe I was overreacting to a really, really tiny sample for a team that hadn't faced any left-handed pitching for like all month. And Sanchez, of course, that's going to be his specialty. His OPS is already back up to 756. Again, this is still a small sample, 47 at bats, but 3 homers, some tanks actually this week. A huge go-ahead homer that gave them the win in Pittsburgh. I think defensively, he's fine as backup catchers go. His pitch framing is not fine.
I'm not so sure about fine, but we can digress. We can digress. He's here to hit. He's here to hit.
I'm being charitable on the fine defensively, but he is here to hit, and he's probably going to come around and be okay.
I will say, it's sorry to interrupt, but
no, go ahead.
I don't know when else I'm going to get this thought in. I've had it like stewing in the back of my brain, like intrusive thoughts. I've been underwhelmed by the Brewers catching this year, and I think William Contreras has been okay and had some really good games, but underwhelmed in general by the catching defense from the Brewers.
Yeah, it's surprisingly been a little rough. And Charlie Green is on the staff this year, a guy who is kind of the architect of what the Brewers catching situation has been defensively.
Are you going to make me sit here and let everyone know Walker McKinven has a big impact on this?
Well, yes, he's been here.
I don't want to get. We don't need to get into these weeds. Gary Sanchez, sorry, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are magicians. I'm not saying that they stopped being magicians, but I think it'd be pretty. It is a surprise that maybe we haven't seen quite that level of defense. You want to talk about a player that you tried to sell me on, and I'm not sure I ever bought that as much as I bought, say, Tobias Myers. I'm feeling okay about where I stood. Again, not to denigrate a guy, but like it's been really tough for Joey Wiemer. Really, really tough.
Yeah. It has been really tough, especially for the last 3 months of last season, and then gestures broadly to this season, both on defense and offense. So, the defense was kind of carrying last year, elite defense, or according to the metrics, outs above average and etc. Great story today, by the way, on Journal Sentinel, written by some slap about the difference between, what do we do when the eye test tells us something different than the metrics? But anyway, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about baseball and Joey Wiemer. And JR, you're right. I have led the train on Joey Wiemer. I tried, getting you aboard. The train was moving out of the station and you were standing there. I reached out a hand and said, JR, jump on. And unfortunately, I couldn't lift you up.
I'm fat.
I don't know. I was going to say, I don't know if that says more about you or about me.
I ain't jumping on a moving train.
So
I tried going up the down escalator once when I realized I'd left something in the store, and I fell and gashed my knee so bad that I just kind of
my gosh.
I mean, that's a really short anecdote. Just I'm not jumping on a moving train. It's not working for me.
This is why people listen to the podcast to know about when you gash.
Oh man, it hurts so bad. Never again.
I think I'm moving in so many different parts and digressing because I really don't want to admit that I was wrong here, possibly about Joey Wiemer. And sure, there's a lot of baseball left in this young man's career, a lot of baseball. And there are a lot of, there have been good flashes in there, both at AAA and the major leagues. He's shown he can do it. JR, I just think I might have missed on this one. We'll see. Like I said, we will see. But the at-bats have only gotten worse. The contact quality is not good. And now we've got boneheaded plays on defense that sort of matches like I don't know what the approach is, questions on offense that have always been there. So I still want to trust the evaluation that was there last offseason. This guy's got the tools. He can do it if, he puts together some better swing decisions and play really good defense. I still want to say that's in there somewhere, but it is not right now, and the whole package is quite rough at the big league level from what we've seen. And I might need to issue an apology to you and others for hyping up Joey Wiemer, but sometimes this is just how it works with prospects. And let's hope that for the sake of the Brewers and Wiemer and me and my ego, that it works out.
Joey Wiemer only has 18 at-bats this year. He has 2 hits, both singles, 5 strikeouts, or I should say 7 strikeouts. Does have 1 walk. That's a what is that OPS? 269 to start with. I mean, teeny, but
two what?
Yeah, 269 OPS to start with right now. 18 at bats, so let's settle down. But it hasn't looked good. He did drop a fly ball in Pittsburgh that nearly cost the Brewers at a point where they almost blew the game. Yoel Payamps, keep calling him Joel, but Yoel Payamps had to really dig deep to get out of that jam.
You did it. You did it. You got the S at the end of his name.
Do I not? Oh, I don't often pronounce that, do I? It's Payamps. I usually say Payamp.
Payamp. Yeah, you do.
Yeah. I think I read maybe somewhere that was how it was supposed to be pronounced, but I don't know. We're doing the best we can. So anyway, Joey Wiemer really, really struggling. And, with Jackson Chourio already kind of I don't want to say project, that's the wrong word there, but like you're going to see some pretty, rookie level struggles with him. And we've seen that. I think he's come around a little bit defensively, offensively. It's still not there yet, but how many of those guys can you realistically carry? Now, again, some of that is because Christian Yelich is hurt. And we have to talk about that one more time before we go to 3 up, 3 down. I know we don't know when he's coming back. The back is a mystery to kind of everybody, but like alarm bells are going off here, Curt. I'm feeling like this is super long term. That's the worst case scenario, but that's kind of what where my head is at. Maybe it's the rash of major injuries that's causing me to feel that way. But this is concerning, and his bat is pretty absent. Like you can feel the absence pretty dramatically this week, where the offense just isn't. It's just not the same when he's not in there, and it has not been the same. So any inkling here? Any thoughts?
I'm going to offer 2 more words for you.
Yeah,
Brewer Hicklin. Gimme.
He's hurt too. Not hurt, but he
was just playing this week. Then he got hit by a pitch, and then it went to injury delay, and then I X'd out of the MLB, the MILB app, and I have no idea what happened afterwards. Wow, great! I'm a great reporter.
See no evil.
I'm so good at what I do.
I made a list for you of all the people who I think are going to play for the Brewers before the season is over, and that's just the guys that I've heard of to this point. So I don't see many outfielders besides Brewer Hicklin, but I do think he's going to get a shot for sure. I mean, Todd Rosiak's going to love that. He loves the Brewer
He
thing.
loves the story. Yes, there are multiple players on the 40-man that Brewer Hicklin is better than. So that's where we are. We've name dropped Brewer Hicklin on the podcast. Good job.
Shouts to you. He may be an outfielder for the Milwaukee Brewers. They need someone else, I think.
They do.
But Christian Yelich, man, any thoughts?
Yeah, I do actually. This is just the way it is, man. This is just the way it is. Mm-hmm. Like, what's the timetable? I don't know. No one knows. It's not a fun place to be for anyone. But, the running went well, and then all of a sudden, there were 2 attempts at hitting, and neither went well. So you're probably looking at another couple days before you try the hitting again, and then, you got to progress up. You got to be able to hit in the cage first, then, hit on the field, and then face velocity. Like, there's some significant hurdles to clear here. And it's not actually, it is quite a while ago. And I was going to say it's not that long ago, but it is quite a while now ago that, there's talk of, well, maybe he can miss the IL stint. Backs, man. Brutal stuff.
Yeah, it's tough. All right, we still have a lot of ground to cover in 3 up, 3 down. So we better get to it. Let's do that right now. It's 3 up, 3 down. Curt, you know what? Before we get to that real quick, I once again am terrible at introducing interviews. So Brian Hudson, I believe is how you want it pronounced. I sat down with him last week, so I got an interview with him. It's short, but just he had another good week. He played the Yankees, one of his former organizations, this week. He's got a kind of a cool story of how he got here. He's been sensational this year. We talked about him and how he is so high on the tier of trust. He's going to be coming up after this. You want to go first, so let's go first. Do it to it.
Yes, I'm raising my hand over here.
Raising your hand.
A la our king, Aaron Judge.
All right. I will.
So I had a thought while you were talking about all the injuries and the guys who have to play, and Joey Wiemer, being a semi-regular, and Chourio struggles. The roster right now is not that of a team that's what are the Brewers now, like 17-10 or something like that.
Yes.
Pretty good. Like, they have a pretty good record, one of the best in baseball. And so you look at the roster and you're kind of like, how is this happening? Well, one of the guys that might be legit, we'll see. I said Oliver Dunn might be legit too, is Joey Ortiz, JR. What a game on Friday. First career homer, walk-off, single.
Ripped single.
I want to say 4 walks on Sunday. Either way, like, The pitch selection there is good. The power is not great, but
Was never going to be.
There's enough contact in there and like enough line drive contact too, where with the walks it can work. And we've talked about his defense. There's been some mishaps, but I think on the whole, you still see like the ingredients of a really good defender. So Joey Ortiz, he's staking a claim for regular playing time.
I agree with you. And I think it has to inform the Willy Adames situation coming down the road, whether or not they trade him, knowing that you kind of have a guy who can probably play shortstop and hit pretty well. Probably going to make it hard for the Brewers to keep Willy Adames is kind of what I'm saying there, whether that's this year or or just let him go in the offseason. But this year, that trade deadline, he's going to be a guy who's really, his name is rolled around on the market a lot. And I don't know. Joey Ortiz seems to have it. Great night on Friday. That walk-off. Always fun to get a walk-off. That's 2 for the Brewers this season. And tough game. Home runs by... Who hit home runs in that game? Blake Perkins, Ortiz. I don't think there was another one, but
I think that was it. Blake Perkins.
Unusual sources of power. So you'll absolutely take that victory.
National League center field WAR leader Blake Perkins. Actually, I don't know if that's 100% true, but I'm going to run with it.
It's probably not. We're going to not research that and just assume it's true. For my first one, adding injury to injury at the beginning of the week. A fly ball hits Jacob Junis on the warning track while he's working out before the game gets Pittsburgh. He's already on the injured list with a shoulder issue. As of right now, he has only appeared in 1 game as a Milwaukee Brewer, and it was the home opener as the starting pitcher. And then he gets hit in the neck with a fly ball. Are you kidding me? Had to be taken in ambulance. You've talked to him. He's okay. He avoided all the major issues you could imagine, just some soreness, but like it knocked him down. I mean, it was very scary, and he described it in pretty good detail. Said he didn't lose consciousness or anything, which is great. But it starts to feel a little cursed when things like that are happening. And Rowdy Tellez, of course, last year kind of mangled his finger at Great American Ballpark doing outfield drills. You had Darren Ruff, who ran into a tarp, which had some sharp edges to it that like tore up his knee. We never saw Darren Ruff again. I mean, it's been a little weird, Curt, and Thankfully he's okay, but that certainly was another moment to start the week. And the same day, I think we found out Wade Miley was going on the injured list, and just wild stuff.
You are the next Milwaukee Brewers pitcher.
Can you throw? That's all it takes at this point.
JR, number 2 is about me.
Of course,
I made my flight on Thursday.
Congratulations!
And I did not think I was going to.
You schedule your flights so aggressively. You just have no one else to blame.
I had 1 flight option to fly back Thursday night from PNC, and your boy was not trying to. I love Pittsburgh. I do not mean to besmirch the name of Pittsburgh. I love that city.
Just want to get home.
I did not want to spend another night in Pittsburgh though. So that was my 1 option. So I took it, and I ran with it, and I made my flight. But I did not think I was going to. It was a 3+ hour game, which in this day and age makes me angry.
Yeah.
I don't like them. But I made my flight. This is a really bad 3-up, 3-down because it's not about the team. So let's talk about the actual game. Freddie Peralta wasn't great. William Contreras. There you go. Big game for him. He hit a homer like 450 feet. It was cold in Pittsburgh. That's not easy to do. And he did it. He's good.
MVP candidate William Contreras, whose name we don't say enough. How close were you to missing your flight? We were talking about it the whole game.
I was at I had enough time to get Chick-fil-A at my gate.
That's not almost missing your flight.
No, but okay, yeah, you're right.
It was tense.
There are a lot of what you don't understand is there's a lot of variables in Pittsburgh. Namely, like, when does my Uber come?
Yes.
This time I had to sprint to get it before it would drive away, because most of the time it's like 12-minute wait and you're sitting there and you're waiting and then you're in traffic forever and traffic takes forever. But I had a man who was driving, and this dude broke like 19 traffic laws just to get me to the airport.
Love a good Uber driver. 5 stars.
What a king. What a king. The Brewers were in Pittsburgh. The end.
It didn't rain. Not one time. Sort of. Well done. Proud of you, Curt. It was a good trip. That was an important win for the Brewers because, like you said, Freddie was not at his best, and they still were able to again scratch out a win that they had to have. Gary Sanchez with that big home run in the 8th inning to flip the scales. So this week could have easily been much worse in the win-loss column than it was. I think all 3 wins were size of relief more than like Brewers really came out dominating, but you'll take that 100% of the time. So okay, next for me, what's on my list here? Oh, Tyler Black. We got to talk about Tyler Black. He's one of our guys. He is killing it.
Please don't do me.
Killing it.
Like my guy last year, Tyler Black. Please, I can't make another apology.
He hit 2 home runs today in his first 2 at bats.
He did.
That's just the tip of the iceberg with the bat. The bat is awesome. He is dominating AAA. He is going to be in Milwaukee. There is a problem, Curt. The problem is our guy can't play defense. They tried him at third base. They have aborted that. It's not happening. Tried him at first base. It's rough around the edges. They have a first baseman in Rhys Hoskins who likewise is rough around the edges, although he had a couple really nice plays this week, I should say. First base DH is not the most valuable of spots. That's also not really something the Brewers desperately need. Although Jake Bauers, it should be noted who hit a home run today and had a tremendous day on Sunday. Jake Bauers continues to be great defensively, offensively. Not sure what we're going to get there. Tyler Black could conceivably take his place, but again, that's not the biggest hole on this roster. So I don't really know when or even if we're going to see Tyler Black in the first half of 2024. I sure think we'll see him after, but I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of it. He's just like, what else is he supposed to do at Nashville other than learn to play a position? And it's not developing. So he's an elite bat. They got to do something. I don't know.
I'm a bit surprised that the third base thing hasn't been tried a little more. Like they're not even playing him at third base at all. It's all first base, which maybe that probably says a lot about the future outlook and like how the franchise views him long term. Still, a large part of me thinks the outfield could have worked with him. And as we've talked about, that would seem at face value, given all the young outfielders, like, oh, there's just no room. Well. How the turntables have turned.
Yeah,
now it would actually probably work pretty dang well. Get another lefty in the outfield while Mitchell's hurt. But yeah, nevertheless, it's probably going to have to be first base. I guess just, the team that prioritizes infield defense the way the Brewers do can't really afford to, have someone that you don't trust at all playing there regularly. So yeah, that's that's where we're at with Tyler Black. He's got to be here at some point this year. I just don't know when that is. Yeah. Which is kind of a seg into my final 3 up, 3 down. JR, you mentioned it briefly there. You stole some thunder from me. Jake Bauers had the best game that no one's ever going to remember on Sunday. Really homer, double, single, 3-run homer to tie the game. Big hit off Marcus Stroman. Knocked him out of the game. Feel good about your chances if you're the Brewers there. Didn't work out.
Then Aaron Judge raised his hand.
Aaron Judge had a question, which was interesting. It was kind of like the Jake Bauer. I don't want to say it was the Jake Bauers experience in a nutshell, but he did strike out, have 2 kind of ugly at-bats to start the game, with a chance of driving some runs, and struck out swinging both times against Stroman. That's been the bugaboo for him early in the year. It's like he just can't make contact. And then as soon as you're out on him, pulls you back in with, 3 pieces of loud contact and the best game that no one's going to remember. So that's the Jake Bauers experience, I guess, right now.
Yeah, that is true. All right, I'm going to close it down. My third, a little bit of Pat Murphy flavor that I enjoyed this week. I think this was Wednesday's game. You just mentioned William Contreras, and somebody asked him in the post game, and you would have been there for this. You had a lot of different contributors on offense or something like that. It wasn't you who asked this question. Oh, you could talk about a lot of different guys on offense, and Murphy interrupted, and he's like, "Who do you want to talk about on offense?" Because they won this game 3-2. All of their runs came on like there was a single
because Luis Ortiz could not throw a strike.
If there's a bases loaded walk, I believe there's a bases loaded hit by pitch, and William Contreras with a seeing eye single that drove in a run. So then the question asker is like, well, William Contreras, and he's like, Murphy's like, yeah, William Contreras. That's it. Basically, is what he did. I don't know if he's used those exact words, but that was the implication. Like, yes, William Contreras is good. Where's everybody else? Very funny stuff. Love a good post game with Murph. It's definitely it's so different from Craig Counsell. We've said that before, but It's not like he's not aware that the offense is scuffling a little bit, and that is going to ebb and flow. I just don't know if there's enough bat here to overcome the pitching. That's kind of my central concern. It has been my concern from day one, and I think at some point, they've won a lot. There are games that I feel like they've given away, but there are a bunch of games they've stolen, this is a ham-fisted way of looking at it. I think that catches up over time. There's going to be games that they give away. There's going to be close games they lose. And at some point, this all levels out if it continues like this. And I think ultimately that ends still below 500. But maybe I'm just I'm doomsaying for a team that's had a very good start to the season on paper.
And other than that, how was the month of April, Miss Lincoln?
It was a good month on paper. I love the record. Let's unless there's anything else, that'll do it for 3 Up 3 Down. Anything else you want to throw in quick?
Nah.
No, we didn't talk about at greater length Joey Wiemer's drop ball in left field. That was really, really wild. Jackson Chourio had a nice diving catch on defense as well this week. Again, Owen Miller, Jake Bauers both getting on the mound, saving the bullpen with their position player magic. 2 innings of work, man. You just don't see that very much from an infielder. Owen Miller, 2 innings of work, 4 runs allowed. Giancarlo Stanton took him deep. It happens. It happens to the best of them. So let's go back in time. It's Remember When. Love this segment where we look back at some of the Brewers' history. And you know what? I'm surprised I haven't talked about this one before, but I do not have record of doing so. It's July 27th, 1979, because the Brewers were playing the Yankees in Milwaukee. And this harkens back to another instance because we had a walk-off win, another exciting walk-off win. Do you know, Curt, where I'm going with this? Have you heard? Does this ring any bells, this time frame?
No, I feel like it should. So this isn't a total no. This is I'm gonna feel stupid in a little.
I would say the crowds were pretty good this weekend at American Family Field. The crowd really electric on Friday for that walk-off win, and then Saturday giving away that tumbler, that Brew Crew City Connect tumbler drew a big crowd.
Which
definitely
interjection?
Yeah,
the City Connect tumbler came before the City Connect unis.
Don't
at me, fanatics.
We got some news about that the uniforms are going to be fixed by 2025, which gives us a whole year to complain about them still. Are we going to see the City Connect uniforms? I'm starting to think maybe not.
In theory, yes, but also in theory, they were supposed to be here. So
I don't think we see them this year, Curt. I think I'm
not going to get that whole diatribe. If you really want me to hear me roast fanatics, go back in the archive. It's there.
We got plenty
somewhere.
To say. All right, so July 27th, 1979, it's a walk-off win against the Yankees. Cecil Cooper hits a game-winning home run. It is his 3rd home run of the game. 3 home runs, including a walk-off. Magical night before 47,928 people. That is a heck of a crowd at County Stadium. It was big city New York against small city Milwaukee. The Brewers have just gotten good. 1978 was their first good season, winning season. So 79, they've got some swagger. And this game isn't just about the Cooper three home runs. It's about the brawl that ensued inside of this game. It was a little back and forth. Some tight pitches were thrown to both Brewers and Yankees hitters, including to Reggie Jackson, who didn't love it when Mike Caldwell, the Bulldog lefty Mike Caldwell, threw kind of inside a couple times in an at-bat. Jackson ends up popping out in this at-bat, and as he does it, his bat goes out to Mike Caldwell, kind of just, I don't quite understand exactly how that happened. Like the Caldwell picks up the bat, tries to break it. I think it had broken off, and he tried to break it further. Reggie Jackson maybe mistook that for him picking up the bat and kind of coming after him. Jawing ensues. Bench is empty. People get punched. The home plate umpire actually got one of the worst of it. He got his face in between a couple guys trying to punch each other. John Shulock and ended up taking a big hit. Jackson gets ejected. Caldwell actually doesn't get ejected and continues pitching, which I found kind of fascinating. So there's this huge brawl, and it was pretty ugly. It was a pretty ugly brawl. But they resume. It goes a little back and forth. Willie Randolph hits a big home run to tie the game in the 8th, and then Cooper comes up, hits his 3rd home run of the night to win the game. He called it just the best night of his life, best night of his career on that day in 1979. Crazy series. The Brewers hit 7 doubles, I think, the next night, which was a franchise high at the time, to win the game. They end up sweeping the Yankees. There's another little dust up. Jim Gantner is involved in the 3rd and final game of that series, but the Brewers win that one as well. So pretty impressive stuff. The 3rd home run came against Goose Gossage, who of course was a Hall of Fame closer. So no, a pretty impressive guy to hit a home run off of. And just a night, I think, if you're talking about great regular season moments in Brewers history, this is way up there, way up there. Again, this is when the Brewers just got good. 1978, 1979, they're a really effective team. They won 95 games in 79. So this was a new dawn for Brewers fans, new swagger, and they had these guys like Mike Caldwell who just wouldn't take it from anybody. Caldwell was one of the best pitchers in baseball in 1978 and into 79, and it was a pretty premium matchup when you'd go against Reggie Jackson. Pretty intense. Love a good story about a brawl, and that's it. That's our look back in time. Remember when? Always love it when the New York Yankees come to town. All right, let's close this down the way we always do. It's Curt's take of the week. Here it is, Curt Blanche.
Okay, so first off, question for you about Remember When. Question for you.
Yes.
What is your late season 2008 does not count. What is your favorite Brewers regular season memory as a fan?
2005, Ricky Weeks and Prince Fielder homer for the first time in the same game against the Minnesota Twins. That's the one.
Against Johan. Am I wrong about that? Am I correct?
Ricky Weeks was against Johan Santana. Fielder hit his off Jesse Crane to give the team the lead. I want to say in the 7th inning, a 3-run homer. And very exciting stuff. And the Brewers beat, Johan Santana, the reigning Cy Young winner at the time. So they win that game at home. Very, very good stuff. The end of the 2018 season was really, really special. That series against the Tigers, where they sweep them to set up game 163. Really difficult to beat that. That was the energy there was as premium as it gets, I would say.
Mine, JR, is from 2018, but not the end. It involves, this came to mind too, because it involves, well, a fellow that we saw this week, Clay Holmes.
Oh, Jordan Lyles is involved.
The unforgettable extra innings sequence of Ryan Braun strikes out for the second out. And then
Jordan Lyles
somehow Jordan Lyles walks, Eric Kratz singles, and then Orlando Arcia singles, and the Brewers win. It was like what, 13th inning, crazy night.
Yeah, it was wild. They needed it in retrospect because they needed every game to set up game 163. That was a pretty special one. A little random, a little late, and I don't think a lot of people saw it because it's super late at night with all the extra.
It's kind of a niche one, but one that popped back up in my mind this week. Okay, anyway, that's not my big take here.
To be clear, the 2008 games are the greatest in regular season Brewers history.
Well, that's why they have to get excluded. Yes,
understood.
Like 1, 2, and 3 might all be from maybe just 1 and 2 are from the.
Yeah, I think
maybe 1, 2, and 3. Maybe.
Well, certainly walk-off grand slam. In addition to the finale, of course, I might be able to sneak in some others before we get more. Anyway, let's get to your take of the week. We got to shut this thing down.
JR, do you know who the Brewers will be seeing this week?
I mean, the Tampa Bay Rays, of course.
They ain't just seeing Yandy Diaz. They will be taking the nice convenient commute for those who work in one city and would like to reside in another. They'll be taking that commute down to Chicago Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think you know where I'm going with this.
I thought we were going to talk about the Tampa Bay Rays, but no.
That's right. We're talking about Miles Mastrobuoni.
Yeah, that's right, Curt. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting.
It'll be the first instance of Council Fest, and now this one is not nearly as compelling, I think, as the one in Milwaukee, which is going to be like they're the exact same. The two same teams playing. The only difference is like there'll be like 10 seconds where Craig Counsell's introduced in front of Milwaukee fans. And the second one, I'm curious to see how that goes over. Probably not well. But there's been some time to think about the move and, reflect on it and, see various reactions and how people responded to it.
Time heals all wounds. Time heals all wounds, Curt.
I think I've settled on something.
Okay.
I think time may never fully heal this wound, but it'll mend, in the general direction, unless the Cubs win a World Series, that is. And I say that because I think the biggest misstep in this whole entire thing that has made it sustain to this level is the comments that have come from Counsell throughout, whether it's him pandering directly to the Cubs or like taking thinly veiled shots at the Brewers, maybe a little more than thinly veiled, but like they're veiled shots at the Brewers, and it's not a ton of them, but it's just enough of it. I think that it stokes the flames with a very Brewers fans are sensitive about this because he went to the Cubs, understandably so. So I do think eventually the time will come to move on. For Brewers fans, you talk around the Brewers clubhouse, and these guys have totally moved on completely. I don't think they were really ever at council. It's like a little bit of a different, very bit of a different perspective when you're in the game and you're a player compared to when you're someone from here and you're a fan. So, but ultimately, I think what I'm saying is, if this could have been managed so much better, I think from council, like if that's something that he even cares about is handling like how Brewers fans reacted to it. Maybe he doesn't care. But if he does, I just don't think the last few months, just the comments, a lot of them, were taken and run with by Brewers fans who are upset, and rightfully so. I'm ready to be done with it, though. I don't know about you, but maybe that's my take. I don't know what my take was in this whole thing. I'm ready to be done with it. And I don't think we're going to be done with it anytime soon. But I hope eventually it does simmer down a little bit. Like Brewers fans, they don't need to forgive, Craig Counsell for going to the Cubs. Like if you're mad at him, you're mad at him. But hopefully it'll just not be a thing anymore. Like when Jesse Winker goes nuclear and people are, in the mention saying Counsell ruined him. Like that's not the case.
No.
He was just slow and recovering from an injury, and now he's not. Yeah. The offense hasn't changed under Murphy. It's the exact same. I don't know. It's just been a lot. And I'm, as with most things that are a lot, I'm ready to be done with it, and I'm ready to be done talking. Floor is yours.
When I said time heals all wounds, I was kidding because it's only been a month and a half or whatever. So no one's healed here. I will say that I am surprised about something. I've always considered Craig Counsell to be kind of the smartest guy in the room. And I think in many cases he has been. He is one of the smartest managers in baseball, I think, and still believe. But I'm surprised at how little I think he really.
I ain't going to comment on that. I'm not going to comment.
Well,
I was close to. But I was close to.
What I mean is, like, I felt like he's aware of everything, and I've been surprised at how either seemingly unaware he is of the rivalry. I don't even think he's like making snide comments at Milwaukee. I just think he doesn't realize how it will come off.
Cares? Yeah, I don't think
he may not.
Cares.
I don't think he does either, which surprises me. That's just not. He is. Kind of gives an aloofness, but that's separate from like being completely unaware of how the fan base might react to something. And I don't think he intends to hurt anybody. I don't think he intends to like even get revenge or anything like that. I think he just thinks very professionally, and it's just, this was the next best move for him. And I'm surprised that he didn't seem to take any of that into account. So I'll be interested to hear what he says here. Like, is it going to be guarded or, I don't think he's stoking the flames, but I might be wrong. I mean, maybe I have a complete misread on him, and he legitimately is like, "Come at me, bro. I left Milwaukee. You guys weren't helping me out. You didn't give me a team that I could win a World Series with. So I went south, and that's the way it goes. And you guys still doing what you're doing. Great. Good luck to you. But we're gonna whoop you, or try to. I don't know. That would surprise me, but I'm just really surprised at how sort of little consideration he's kind of given to this rivalry. It seems like he just didn't think it would be a big deal. And it obviously is.
I'll say one thing to the Brewers side of it is I'm a bit surprised that ever since the he's lost our community, comments coming out throwing flames, there's been nothing even like remotely close to that. I talked to Yelich and Brandon Woodruff for a story teaser coming up this week on JS Online, and I don't necessarily expect them to say anything like that. Like, I totally see their opinion on this as players, but I'm just a little surprised that there has been nothing else from the Brewers, even that could even be perceived as like remotely anti-Counsell, given that he kind of put the middle finger in their face. Yeah.
The Brewers again will play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all day games at Wrigley Field in Chicago. All 1:20 starts. They come into the week, these two teams separated by just a half game. Cubs lost to the Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball, so they are right now a half game behind the Brewers for first place in the National League Central. So obviously, if the two teams are going to stay competitive all year, that's going to be just adding fuel to the fire. The Cubs will be at Milwaukee later in May. That's going to be a fun time. Good Memorial Day opportunity. I'm sure there won't be people fired up for that one. That's going to be a special time. But we get our first taste of that this week. Curt, any other thoughts before we shut this down?
No, I got some ice cream cake in the freezer, and I'm about to go smack.
It's a good call. We had
That's
ice
my
cream.
only thought.
Also had ice cream tonight. The boy won a soccer tournament. His team won a soccer tournament, so we had some ice cream tonight. It was a good night. Good, congrats to the boy. Yeah, that'll do it. So now, if you are watching on YouTube, this is where the show ends, and hope you enjoyed looking at us. If you are on your normal podcast platforms, you'll hear my interview with Brian Hudson. He is a native of Illinois, but pretty close to the St. Louis area, and so going to pitch in St. Louis, where I believe that's where he got his first major league win. That's a cool occasion for him. He's been very, very good left-hander out of the bullpen. 6'8" left-hander who's not throwing 99, but definitely making batters uncomfortable. It's been a great start for him. So here's my interview with him. Hope you enjoyed this edition of the Microbrew Podcast. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.